We are
Mm-hmm.
now at stage 11, paragraph page
Mm-hmm.
955. Okay, let me just
Mm-hmm.
check 955. Okay, and our last head word was particle, new word type of lesson. Okay, so let's
Yes.
start with our revision. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Here we go. Make a sentence with the verb quit. Make a sentence with the verb quit, please. I finally
I
quit my
finally
job yesterday.
quit my job yesterday.
She'd love to be
She loved
a
to
non
be
smoker,
a
but
non-smoker,
she's never quit
but she's never quit
successfully.
successfully.
Very good. Do you sympathize with people who start their own company but then go bankrupt? Do you sympathize with people who start their own company but then go bankrupt? Yes or no?
Yes,
I sympathize
I
with people
sympathize with
who
people
start their
who
own
start
company
their own
but then
company
go
but
bankrupt.
then go bankrupt
Why? Why? Because
because it's heartbreaking.
it's heartbreaking. That's correct. Again, is it illegal in your country to help someone to commit suicide? Is it illegal in your country to help someone to commit suicide? Yes or no?
Yes,
It's illegal in
it's
my
illegal
country
in my
to
country
help someone
to help
to commit
someone
suicide.
to commit suicide.
Very good. Give me a sentence containing the words by no means or not by any means. Give me a sentence containing the words by no means or not by any means. She is by no
She
means
is by no
the
means
worst in the
the
class.
worst in the class.
She isn't by
He
any
isn't
means
by any
the
means
worst in the class.
the worst in the class.
Very good. Is it common to see people handing out leaflets to passersby in the streets in your town? Is it common to see people handing out leaflets to passersby in the street in your town? Yes or no?
Yes,
It's common to
it's
see
common
people
to see
handing
people
out leaflets
handing out
to
leaflets
passersby
to
in the
passersby
street
in
in
the
my town.
street in my town.
Very good. What do we mean by handout in a business meeting? What do we mean by a handout in a business meeting? By a handout
By a
in a
handout
business meeting,
in a business
we
meeting,
mean a document
we mean a
that is
document
given
that is
to all
given
the people
to all the people
attending the meeting.
attending the meeting.
Very good. By learning the language of a country, do you think one automatically acquires some knowledge of that country's culture? By learning the language of a country, do you think one automatically acquires some knowledge of that country's culture? Yes or no?
No,
By learning the
a
language
learning
of a
language
country,
of a
I don't
country.
think
I
one
don't think
automatically
one
acquires
automatically acquires
some knowledge
some
of that
knowledge
country's culture.
of that country's culture.
Where do people in jobs that require hard physical labor often need to retire earlier than those in office jobs? Do people in jobs that require hard physical labor often need to retire earlier than those in office jobs? Yes, people
Yes,
in jobs
people in
that
jobs
require
that
hard
required
physical labor
hard physical
often
labor
need to retire
often need to retire
earlier than those
earlier
in
than
office
those
jobs.
in office jobs.
Very good. If somebody is sentenced to a certain period of time in prison, do you agree they should be released early for good behavior? If someone is sentenced to a certain period of time in prison, do you agree they should be released early for good behavior? Yes or no?
No,
If somebody is
if
sentenced
somebody is
to a
sentenced
certain period
to
of
a certain
time in
period
prison,
kind in
I
prison,
don't agree.
I
They
don't
should be
agree
released
they should be
early
released
for good
early
behavior.
or good behavior.
Very good. Supposing you miss 2 weeks of lesson, would it be tricky to catch up with the rest of the students in the class? Supposing you miss 2 weeks of lesson, would it be tricky to catch up with the rest of the students in the class? Yes or no?
Yes,
Supposing I missed,
supposing like this,
supposing I missed
supposing I
two
missed
weeks of
two
lessons,
weeks of
it'd
lessons,
be tricky
it'd be
to catch
tricky
up with
to
the
catch
rest
up
of the
with the
students
rest of the
in the
students
class.
in the class.
Very good. What's the opposite of nice? What's the opposite of nice? The opposite
The
of nice
opposite of
is
nice is
nasty.
nasty.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. There was a
There
nasty
was
smell. A
a
nasty
nasty
smell
smell
coming from the
coming
hotel
from
kitchen.
the hotel kitchen.
Very good. Why do children find long car journeys hard to endure? Why do children find long car journeys hard to endure? Children find
Children
long car
find
journeys
long car
hard to
journeys
endure
hard to
because
endure
they find it
because
difficult
they find it
to sit
difficult
still
to sit
for a long
still
time.
for a long time.
Very good. What does an editor in a publishing company do? What does an editor in a publishing company do? An editor
An
in a
editor
publishing
in the
company
publishing
edits
company
books,
edits books,
making changes
making
to the
changes
text
to the
and
text
correcting mistakes
and correcting
so that
mistake
the work
so that the
is
work
ready to be published.
is ready to be published.
Very good. Name a country that uses a lot of spices in its cuisine. Name a country that uses a lot of spices in its cuisine. India is
India
a country
is a
that
country
uses
that
a
uses
lot of
a
spices
lot of
in
spicy
its cuisine.
in its cuisine.
Very good. Do you like spicy food? Do you like spicy food? Yes or no?
No,
I don't like
I don't like
spicy
spicy
food.
food.
Very good. Okay, next. Would you agree that women generally show their affection for others more easily than men? Would you agree that women generally show their affection for others more easily than men? Yes or no?
Yes,
I agree that
I agree that
women generally
women
show their
generally shows
affection
their
for
affection
others more
for
easily than
others
men.
more easily than men.
Very good. If someone says they work as a chemist, what kind of work do they do? If someone says they work as a chemist, what kind of work do they do? If someone says
If someone
they work
says
as a
they
chemist,
work as a
they
chemist,
either work
they either
as a
work
scientist
as a
in the field
scientist
of
in
chemistry
the field of
or they
chemistry,
work in a
or they
chemist
work in a
selling
chemist
medicine to the public.
selling medicine
To the
to
public.
the public.
Very good. Which domestic appliance do you feel saves people the most time? Which domestic appliance you feel save people the most time? The domestic appliance
The domestic
I feel
appliance
saves
I feel
people the
saves
most time
people the most
is
time is a washing
I
machine.
agree. Very good. If there's a lack of harmony in a marriage over a long period, what can it lead to? If there's a lack of harmony in a marriage over a long period, what can it lead to? If there's a lack of
If there's
harmony
a lack of
in a
harmony
marriage
in a
over a
marriage
long period,
over a long
it can
period,
lead to divorce.
it can lead to divorce.
Very good. Why do more road accidents occur when it rains? Why do more road accidents occur when it rains? More road accidents
More road accidents
occur when it rains.
occur when it
When
rains
it rains,
when it rains
because roads are
because
slippery
roads are
and
slippery
motorists find
and
it difficult
motorists
to see.
find it difficult to see.
Reggie, does it ever occur to you that perhaps you should adopt a healthier lifestyle? Does it ever occur to you that perhaps you should adopt a healthier lifestyle? Yes or no?
Yes,
It sometimes
it
occurs to
sometimes
me
occurs to
that
me
perhaps
that perhaps
I should adopt
I
a
should adopt
healthier lifestyle.
a healthier lifestyle.
Reggie, make a sentence with the word cute. Make a sentence with the word cute, please. The baby looks
The
so cute
baby looks so
with a
cute
ribbon in her hair.
with a ribbon in her
I
hair.
thought the shop
I
assistant
thought the
was
shop
cute,
assistant
but
was
I was too
cute,
shy
but I was
to
too
introduce
shy
myself.
to introduce myself.
Very good. What's a beast? What's a beast? A beast is a
A
large
beast is a
and
large
dangerous animal,
and dangerous
such
animal,
as a gorilla.
such as a gorilla.
Very good. What do we mean by a grain of sand or a grain of rice? What do we mean by a grain of sand or a grain of rice? By a grain of sand
By a grain of
or a grain
sand
of rice,
or grain of
we
rice,
mean one small
we mean
particle
one small
of
particle
sand or rice.
of sand of rice.
Does your country produce the majority of its grain domestically, or does it import most of it? Does your country produce the majority of grains domestically, or does it import most of it? My country
My country
produces the majority
produces a
of its
majority
grain
of
domestically.
its grain domestically.
Very good. Okay, and that's the end of our revision. Let's have new word.
Mhm.
Okay, repeat. Hip.
Hip,
Very good. Okay, listen. The word hip is a noun. For example, this part of the body is the hip, also
Mhm.
called sometimes the waist. Okay, let's practice. What part of the body is this? What part of the body is this? That part of the
The
body
part of the
is the hip.
body is a hip.
Very good. Next, repeat. Apartment,
Apartment.
inhabitant,
Inhabitant.
considerate.
Considerate.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word apartment is a noun. It is a room or a set of rooms for living. It is also known as
Mhm.
flat in British English. For example,
Mhm.
I don't have a house in the city, so I rent an apartment or a flat.
Mhm. Mhm.
Inhabitant is a noun. It means a person or
Mhm.
animal that lives in a particular place. For example,
Mhm.
the city has more than 1 million inhabitants. The
Mhm.
majority of inhabitants in this town live in apartments. The
Mhm.
next word is considerate. Considerate is an adjective. It means thinking
Mhm.
about the rights and feeling of other people. For example,
Mhm.
my neighbor was considerate and turned down the volume of his radio when we asked him to. It's
Mhm.
particularly important for people who live in apartments to be considerate towards their neighbors. Let's
Mhm.
practice. Do the majority of inhabitants in your town live in houses or apartments? Do the majority
Mhm.
of inhabitants in your town live in houses or apartments? The
Mhm.
majority
The
of the
majority
inhabitants
of the
of my
inhabitants
town lives
of my
in.
town lives in apartment.
Very good. Okay. Why is it particularly important for people who live in apartments to be considerate towards their neighbors? Why is it
Mhm.
particularly important for people who live in apartments to be considerate toward their neighbors? It's particularly
It's
important for
particularly
people who
important
live
for
in
people
apartments
who live in
to
the
be
apartment
considerate
to be
towards their
considerate
neighbors.
towards to neighbors,
Their neighbors because
their neighbors, because
they might
loud noises,
around noise they
loud
might
noises
disturb them.
disturb them. Yeah.
Very good. Next, repeat draw.
Draw.
Very good. Okay, listen. The verb draw is sometimes used with the basic meaning of to move. For example,
Mhm.
we can say that a train draws out of a station, or that winter is drawing
Mhm.
near, like coming or going.
Mhm.
Let's practice. Give me an example of the verb draw we use with the basic meaning of move. Give me an example of the verb draw used with the basic meaning of move, please. The car drew away
The
from
car
the
drew
traffic lights
away from
very
the traffic
slowly.
lights very slowly.
Very good. Next, repeat marvelous.
Marvelous.
Vacation.
Vacation.
Very good. Okay, listen. Vacation is a noun. It means a period of time a person spends away from home, away from school or
Mhm.
business, usually in order to
Mhm.
relax or travel. It is also known as
Mhm.
holiday in British English. For example,
Mhm.
I had a vacation at the beach last time. Marvelous is an adjective. It means very good or enjoyable. For example, I
Mhm.
had a marvelous vacation at the beach last summer. Let's
Mhm.
practice. Tell me briefly about a marvelous vacation you'd had or would like to have. Tell me briefly a
Mhm.
marvelous vacation you'd had or would like to have. A marvelous
Mhm.
vacation
Marvelous vacation.
would like to have.
I've heard.
I've had was
I've heard was when I went to Hakone hot spring with my family.
very good in Hakone. Okay, next repeat range,
Range.
equator,
Equator.
annual,
Annual.
drama.
Drama.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word equator is a noun. It is an imaginary circle around the middle of the Earth, and that is the same distance
Mhm.
from North Pole and the South Pole. It's in the middle. For example, the country of
Mhm.
Ecuador lies very close to the equator. Annual is
Mhm.
an adjective that means occurring once a year or yearly. For example, my friend went
Mhm.
to see his doctor for his annual checkup.
Mhm.
Drama is a noun. It is a play, movie, television show, or radio show that is
Mhm.
about a serious subject and is not meant to make the audience laugh. For
Mhm.
example, she cried while watching her favorite TV drama. Range is a noun. It is a series of
Mhm.
numbers that includes the highest and lowest possible amounts. For example,
Mhm.
Countries near the equator have a very limited annual temperature range because it's always hot.
Mm,
Range could also mean a group or collection of different things or people that are usually similar in some way. For example,
mm,
I think drama is a type of film that usually produces a wider range of emotion. Let's
mm,
practice. Do countries
mhm.
near the equator have a very limited annual temperature range? Do countries near the equator have a very limited annual temperature range? Yes, countries
Yes,
near the
countries
equator
near equator
have a very limited
have a very limited
annual temperature range.
annual temperature
Very
range.
good. Which type of film usually produces a wider range of emotions? A drama or a comedy? Which type of film
Mhm.
usually produces a wider range of emotion? A drama or a comedy? A drama usually
A
produces
drama usually
a wider
produces
range of
a wider
emotions.
range of emotion.
Very good. Next, repeat. Necklace,
Necklace,
bracelet.
bracelet.
Very good. Okay, listen. A necklace is a noun. It is a piece of
Mhm,
jewelry that is worn around your neck. For example,
mhm,
girls love to wear a necklace.
mhm,
Bracelet is a noun. It is a piece of jewelry worn on your wrist. For example,
mhm,
girls love to wear necklaces and bracelets. Okay,
mhm.
let's practice. Is there anyone in this room wearing a necklace or bracelet? Is there anyone in this room wearing a necklace or bracelet? Yes or no?
No, no,
There isn't anyone
there isn't
in this
anyone
room
in
wearing
this
a
room
necklace
wearing a
or
necklace
bracelet.
or a
Yeah, but
bracelet.
we have headsets. Next, repeat household.
Household
Be comprised of.
be comprised of.
Chore.
Sure.
Very good. Okay, listen. Be comprised of is a verb. It means to make up or
Mhm.
form. For example,
Form.
the
Mhm.
Brown family is comprised of four members. One, two, three, four.
Mhm.
Mr. Brown, Mrs.
Oh.
Brown, Jack Brown, and Anna
Mhm.
Brown, comprised of
Mhm.
four.
Comprised. Oh.
Chore is a noun. It is a small job that is done regularly. For example, I like the
Mhm.
simple chore of sweeping the floor.
Mhm.
Household can be a noun and an adjective. As a noun, household means a group of people, often a family, who lives together in a house or flat. For example,
Mhm.
Mr. Brown's household is comprised of four people. As an
Mhm.
adjective, household means relating to a house or the people living in a house. For example, my least favorite household chore is doing the laundry. Let's
Mhm.
practice. How many people is your household comprised of? How many people is your
Mhm.
household comprised of? My household
My
is
household
comprised of.
is comprised of three people.
Very good. What's your least favorite household chore? What's your least favorite household chore?
Oh.
My least favorite
My least
household
favorite
chore is.
household chores is doing the laundry.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Panic.
Panic.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word panic is a verb. It means to suddenly feel anxious or afraid, which
Mhm.
makes you act
Mhm.
without thinking carefully. For example, some situation in which it's common for people to panic are during an exam, when performing on
Mhm.
stage, when there's a fire, etc. Okay,
Mhm.
let's practice. Name some situation in which it's common for people to panic. Name some situation in which it's common for people to panic. Some situations
Some
in
situations
which it's common
in which it's common
for people to panic
for people to
are
panic
during an exam,
during an exam,
when performing on stage,
when performing on stage,
etc.
etc.
Very good. Next, repeat bark,
Bark,
footstep,
footstep,
burgle,
burgle,
burglar.
burglar.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word footstep is a noun. It is the movement
Mhm.
or sound of each step a
Mhm.
person takes when walking.
Mhm.
For example, I
Mhm.
know that my father is coming because I can hear his footsteps on the stairs. Bark
Mhm.
is a noun. Bark is a verb. It means to make a short, loud sound that dogs make.
Mhm.
Dogs bark when they hear footsteps in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
Burglar is a noun. It is a person who
Mhm.
illegally enters a building in order to steal things. For example,
Mhm.
dogs in a house start barking if burglars make sound like
Mhm.
footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
Burgle is a verb. It means to enter a building by force and to steal things. For example, burglars avoid burgling properties that have guard dogs because
Mm-hmm.
if they accidentally make a sound like footstep, the dogs start barking and wake people up. Okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
practice. If guard dogs hear footsteps in the middle of the night, do they start barking loudly? If guard dogs hear footsteps in the middle of the night, do they start barking loudly? Yes. If guard
Yes,
dogs
if guard dogs
hear footsteps in the middle of
hear
the night,
footsteps in the
they
middle of
start
the night,
barking loudly.
they start barking loudly.
Do burglars tend to avoid burgling properties that have guard dogs? Do burglars tend to avoid burgling properties that have guard dogs? Yes. Burglars
Yes,
tend to
burglars
avoid
can to avoid
burgling properties
burgling
that have
properties
guard dogs.
that have guard dogs.
Very good. Okay, now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Very good. So our reading is at stage 8, paragraph page
Mm-hmm.
666. Okay, and our
66.
last headword was order. Okay, please start
Order.
at headword packed, packed, suitcase, shorts, t-shirt.
Oh, okay. Packed suitcase,